And we are live, a very late night. We are reacting to a Archcast video. I cannot wait to see that Archcast video we are reacting to. It's late in the night and let's get into it. Just before we truly react to that and we really get into the center of the topic, I will ask you this, Dragon. What do you consider a success? Because the question of this video is the Odyssey a success? So, what is your definition of a success, Dragon?
It depends on what you're doing. Like, if it's like, so the thing about when you define what a success is, if it's a movie, it needs to make back what it cost. Plus, if it's a business venture, you don't want to break even. You want to, you just want to have more than you brought in. And then, so define success, it's also getting it out there as well as understanding the market. Because if it's like a movie and we're discussing the Odyssey, if it's a game, you want it to break even and you want it to sell because cost in development is going to eat up and you want to make back what you put into it. Now, you can make over it and maybe later on and game picks up, it's good. But when it comes to a television show that's been marketed, let's say for months, and the show doesn't get the ratings or it falls off, a show like viewership declines, right? It's hard to call it success if your follow-up seasons are just toiletry. It's like, who wants a third season of Ring of Power? We already know the first two were bad. It's like Batwoman. The ratings went downhill. It's not a success at that point. It's just a drain. In movies, it's a movie that at least does well first week because there's always a drop off. Movies are an interesting thing. They need to make back the marketing budget plus do well. Now, some can do average in the box office and then make it up in VOD. Like Pulp Fiction was terrible in the box office, but good in video. The Odyssey is this weird film that it actually did really well in the box office, but we need to wait to see what the box office for week 2 is. It only made 130. But as I said when we talked about in the review, IMAXs are booked 3.5 weeks. So that's on Nolan's name alone. So when I say it's success, I don't call Odyssey an entire failure because I will bring up like Avatar, multi-app point. Avatar, success or a failure?
I think they are a success. They're a terrible movie, but they make so much money. You cannot deny how much money they make. So that's how I view it. So now that you open the door, I shall answer what I think is a success. There are several metrics. The biggest and most obvious one that has numbers is the money it's making. Is your movie or TV show making money back? In the Odyssey case, I will just screen share what it's making right now, so we don't just
What's
talk
box
of our
office?
butt.
What's box office
Yeah,
mojo?
that's what I'm bringing up right now. So, the money right now by week 2, the budget was 250,
Let
while the
me see if I
box
find.
office
Hold on, let me
was
see if I find.
389. So just by speaking of fact, it did a little bit of money, not a lot because again, a lot of the costs are not really seen truly, like the marketing and other aspect and what exactly sold. And a lot of people wanted to see the IMAX. So what if most of that inflated cost is caused by people? Choosing the IMAX option, something they wouldn't be doing for other movie maker or other people. So I think just by these numbers, we can say, okay, it's underperforming, but we are just in the second week. So I think, as we see, it goes on, if it makes another like maybe 100, we can still see it kind of underperforms.
Multi, is this one better? This is just the straight sales figures.
We will try this out. So, um, yeah, I think it's far better. Um,
So its domestic was 225. Its international was 142. Worldwide is 348. On
I
a budget of 250 supposedly, which I could see it.
I I think if the movie reaches 450 to 500, this is when we have a factual by numbers success. If it doesn't hit that gap there, I don't think it's a massive success. um, Now, the other thing we barely spoke about is how people view it and whether they liked it or not. Now, a lot of people took the um, culture war aspect. A lot of the people were like, "Oh, that movie is woke, therefore we should
Well, the
tear it
marketing
apart."
was ass.
Yeah,
Well, but I mean, the marketing was ass.
yeah, that's true. I
It
also
was
agree with that. The
just, it,
marketing was
I
terrible.
used, that's why when I reviewed it with you, I compared it to D&D Honor Among
Yeah,
Thieves.
I agree with that. Like the marketing was awful.
Because
You don't want to market the movie like that.
Honor Among Thieves said we're going to destroy the male role, and the actresses had to be reined in. It
and
turned
and
out that movie got a second life.
and we also got to say this, like, because you mentioned marketing, I think the marketing also poorly failed because it showcased so many big names, and a lot of these big names they barely appear in the movie. So if you want to see a movie all about Zendaya, I don't think that's possible. But maybe she has her fan base. Maybe some people wanted to see that movie because of Zendaya. I doubt it, but there's always a maybe. They would be disappointed, and you
Tom
can say the
Holland.
same. Yeah,
Well, the thing is, if we go after the cast, because this is the actual, like, kind of what it's earned. Yeah, it earned like 130 million in the first week, right? So 50, 41, 30. So what are we? 120, 130 domestically,
yeah,
domestic daily.
yeah. So
Like, it's not like the film is failing. Unlike Supergirl, like, let's say if we go, do they still have Supergirl? Ugh. Supergirl was bad.
yeah,
Like,
so
Supergirl, but look, just what the reality is,
yeah.
when we say something was failing, Supergirl, how fast do you think something goes to VOD?
Yeah, that's fast. Like I think she got a month in theater, not even a month.
What was it, man? You remember Man of Steel? Man of Steel, not Man of Steel, but
Yeah,
what was it? Superman was very fast.
yeah,
This was what we deemed a big failure on
yeah,
James Gunn's.
yeah, yeah. But
Like, this is
yeah,
his sales.
to finish off on the marketing, like I will
Yeah.
also bring another big name. They tried to market the movie as oh, Elliot Page. I think there's a bigger following for Elliot Page than there is for Zendaya, to be quite
Lapita,
honest.
no, Lapita, God.
Lapita, maybe I don't quite know Lapita, and maybe that's my Canadian side that took over there. But I think Elliot Page might be a bigger draw than Zendaya, simply because we don't see him as often, and because he taps into a audience that likes people like Elliot. But
Hmm.
now, the other aspect I barely spoke about is the perception and what people are seeing. A lot of the cinephile, a lot of the people that are into a lot of movies, they adore um, the Odyssey, and I think it's a big sign of whether it's a success or not. Like, are the people on board with that movie? And you can make money, but if people hate your movie, you made it out of clout. It's not because you did a good product. It's like McDonald's or some fast food chains where, oh, look, you make money, but is it good? No, it might not. So you were successful with the numbers, but not necessarily with the audience. So
You gotta bear in
um,
mind, it was also shot 100% in IMAX, so it's designed truly for IMAX.
yeah,
And even the soundscape in the film blasts you out of the theater,
Yeah.
quite literally.
So
Even
so
in
again,
the when I say it's not, because everyone was like, "Oh, it's gonna flop," and everyone's like, "Oh, you're watching for a flop watch kind of shit." But it's like, no. The problem is based on the premise alone of it being an Odyssey film directed by Christopher Nolan. A year out, the IMAXs were sold out, going to be sold out. As I said, IMAX theaters, there's like 79 of them in the country, 72, something like that. They are sold out for 3.5 weeks.
so just by looking at these numbers, maybe people truly wanted to see it. That's a big question mark, but maybe they also purchased their own ticket because we heard stories like that happening. But um, I think the based on what we read, what we covered among the comments of many people, and what other people had to say, uh, people enjoyed it. They liked that movie, so that
Well,
could be a metric.
I've said it's enorming. I think if okay, so the people, okay, take the Nerderotics. I had two videos for him. I had this one and I had the Disparu. The Disparu is 25 minutes. It's not terrible. It's just long.
Yeah,
That's all it is. And he slayed for him. Arches are, is when you see Arches Angles, it's like, it's not really a success either because this film should have been a film of the year.
yeah. That
Like,
you know
there is
what?
no
That's
doubt.
true. Like it's like Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was inflated by Barbie, and now there was nothing else to inflate Odyssey. But I see that angle, so now I guess
No,
this
Barbie,
is the
no,
ticket.
okay, if you compare it to the other Nolan films, Oppenheimer, okay, take Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, and you also had another historical film he did as Dunkirk. Oppenheimer was based on I'll have to go back and check it. I think it's based on the book American Prometheus, and it's based on a telling week after. So it's not, people accept that it was loosely historical. It was mostly historical, but it focused on events of it. But it was widely regarded as a successful film. But it is a 3-hour film. It did open alongside Barbie. It also piggybacked off that. But Nolan got a lot of praise for that. And see, Odyssey uses practical effects. That's why the budget is about 250. Let's assume the marketing budget's 150. It's at least 100 million. Least.
Yeah. So
It's not like when I say Avatar before we get into the video. I
yeah.
brought up Avatar to him. Avatar films kind of made money, but they also lost money because they had so much, not the production budget,
The marketing.
the marketing. Basically, when we said that Avatar 2 and Avatar 3 bombed, it wasn't because people hate the films. Or largely, I asked a couple of other friends, what did you think of Avatar? Everyone says it's visually stunning, right?
But
You
it's a
know,
very mid movie.
it's not a good plot. And at Odyssey suffers from the fact we were sold it's going to be Odyssey. Odyssey is like one of those things you get one movie in a generation for it.
Yeah.
And I will say this on the casting. The casting was very weird. Now, Arch covers it a little in his video, but not as much. So the actors and actresses, right, were told to just shoot. This is going to be the scene of the day. They repeated the scene, right? So it's kind of a chaotic filming situation. Do you remember how sections of the scene were the movie was very chaotic?
Yeah. Or when
Eh,
there was garbage lighting or color grading.
like you remember how some of the scenes, like in the parts where they were like, you had Elliot Page, you have Lupita Nyong'o's scenes. They felt wrong.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's described on the set that Nolan would say, "Oh, you need to be in this scene. Can you come this day?" Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little weird because there's also the mantra we keep people forget before we get into this as well. Go woke, go broke. Like Supergirl was so woke and DEI are far from the subject material, it failed. Like 124 and then it went to VOD.
And I'd say one last thing on Supergirl before we truly start the reaction.
Yeah.
And marketing was bad, but not only that, but like I think it comes to a point where why do we keep Peter Safran around? Like he must have a dart on someone because the guy keep making movies that
I
fail,
do.
fail, fail, fail. Like when was the last successful DC movie under Peter Safran?
Seymour Sap Peter hold on a
When was
second.
his last successful movie in the DC universe? The first Aquaman, Wonder Woman. And
Let
that's
me
like
see.
almost 10 years,
He
almost.
is supposed to be like Peter Safran is supposed to be Gunn's right hand man.
But I like a lot of people speak about Gunn, but like Safran was there before Gunn was even there. So like at some point we gotta blame someone that's been
So
around
do
for
you
like
know any
50
of these?
years.
He did Buried Under Warner Brothers, The Conjuring, Annabelle, The Conjuring 2,
Yeah.
Annabelle. God, he did the Nun films.
Oh my.
The Nun
How
films. So
how does that guy
he
make
has another Conjuring movie coming out this year.
he must have a dart on someone, I swear.
He did Shazam, Fury of the Gods,
That was a flop. That
Suicide
was a flop.
Squad. He did Shazam. I actually like
The first Shazam
Shazam.
I think was successful. I think I might be wrong on that, but
It closed at 367. So Aquaman,
the first Shazam actually made lots of money.
actually Aquaman made 1.1.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Aquaman, the first one, it was successful, but the second one,
Uh
no.
no, he didn't do the second one. Yes, he fucking did. Sorry, my bad.
It was always around.
440.
Hello, the sparkle. Have you seen the
I
Odyssey?
thought we were doing this Sunday.
No, I'm doing mine Sunday. This is
Okay.
separate, sir.
This
I
is
left
mine.
Zach's and them for you guys, so you should feel
Thank you.
special.
So yeah, so Saffron has been the right hand man for James Gunn. So the
I'm
first
so tired of
Aquaman
Safran.
made
Like, fire the guy.
1.2, and
Fire Safran at that point.
so
The guy proved
so
more time than others that he cannot handle that job. Like he sucks. I'm sorry, but
so
like
he basically so the first Aquaman made 1.1, the second one made that. He also worked on Superman. Superman closed at 618.
okay,
So,
let's say Superman is the only true success Safran had in like
Who?
8 years.
Who?
Because Supergirl was not so great.
Aquaman was 18.
Supergirl was amazing. You just don't know good movies.
I love Supergirl, but it didn't do well, and I think people
You
had
loved
fair
it? Wait.
critique of it. I loved it.
I was joking.
I did love
You
it.
loved
I'm not
it?
joking. Yeah,
You loved it?
yeah. I'm not joking. Like I understand the critique and the people hating on it. Oh, she was too ashamed.
Maybe something. No, she has connection issues. She'll probably be back.
Hopefully she comes back.
No,
But
she saw. So I'll say like I believe like certain people. Like there is. I'm going to ask you this:
fire Saffron.
do you think? And Nerderotic and other people were talking about this when he did the DCEU. You can hate Zack Snyder's shooting style all day. You can hate his dark overtones, but he didn't do the Gods and Monsters arc. Start off with Creature Commandos, did Peacemaker. I can't think.
I understand people gripes against Gunn, but I don't hear enough people complaining about Saffron. I'm sorry, but the guy
No, it's
clearly
Safran's
is
his
not fit.
writer. Safran is one of his script people. But I guess if you do blame a movie, okay, when someone's on the movie,
If you blame Gunn, I think you should also blame the right man. I'm sorry, but the right
Okay, do
man
you
was
rate? Do
also
you,
part of a failed universe.
okay, so if he has the claims and the credit, do you blame the casting director, the story director, or the general director?
The general, but if you've been someone that's been involved in several projects in a row that were not that successful, maybe you have like a poison touch, like maybe you're like Jared Leto or something.
I don't know. Jared Leto is like one of those actual people that
He takes the
look.
worst project.
Well, the problem with like when you look at the like Matt Reeves, we have Clayface coming up. Clayface looks grounded, but it also looks like body horror.
Is Peter Safran any involved in Clayface?
Yes.
Oh my. I had hoped for
Clayface,
Clayface, but now that I know Safran is in it, I feel like something will happen and it will just ruin the movie. Now
he's going to be
people
so
have dumped
okay.
him.
No, here's the
I
trick.
have Safran
So
fatigue.
Safran is going to be working on Clayface, Man of Tomorrow, and the Batman Part 2. So the thing about Clayface's
Keep him
trailer,
away from Batman, please. You proved he's not
Batman 2
fit.
already is cursed. Patterson
It's
is
been Billy like
literally
20 times.
here's the thing. Patterson is going to be 43.
And he will be tired. He will be like, I'm done.
They
I
want
don't
a
want to play
third
him.
one. That's the problem with it was Batfleck. Batfleck was too old. And you know the funny part, what the Batman is marketed as? It is marketed as it's a younger Batman in his 20s or going to 30.
Yeah, but now he's becoming too old for that. But anyway, again, one last time, fire Safran. He was involved in so many failures. And now this is the segue for the start of the video. We shall
Let me
react to a
say the
Archcast
budget. So
video.
the budget for
We start,
Clay.
man. We
Sorry,
start.
Clay.
Enough. We start.
Is
There we
the
go.
Odyssey truly a success? And why does that question even matter? Christopher Nolan's latest historic, heavy quotation marks, very much so intended there, epic, has become quite the fierce little struggle snuggle, both in the realms of movie and cinematography and, of course, in the wider cultural sphere, which
Now I will pause here because I think there's a big clip or a big segment we can start and we can say why does it matter? I think it does matter because it's part of what a lot of people call the culture war, because a lot of people call the Odyssey woke, and a lot of the people had issues with the casting, and I think it also matters because that movie is being sold to so many people by a big name being Christopher Nolan that had under his belt so many success and massive movies that just brought so many money.
Two directors can put butts in seats in the last 10 years and shit out a dog turd and people will watch it. That's James Cameron and that is Christopher Nolan. Like, I know you like Tenet, but people saw Tenet and said it was average. People saw Dunkirk and it missed the mark. But when you look at something that it's definitely something that I say Nolan can get any actors he ever wanted, but he chose a flawed translation. He denied that he was using the Emily Wilson translation. Now, this has been done to death. Arch is not going to cover this as much. He used a bad translation. He had a pick of actors. A lot of the theory is Elliot Page was going to play Achilles, and then it got switched to Sinon, based on sheer.
Maybe it was like, oh, there's so much backlash on Elliot Page, so let's cut his role and give him something else.
Because you remember the scene in Hell. People, well, I say in Hell, we call it Hell, but it's really Hades. In Hades, he's supposed to be visited by his mother, Agamemnon, and Achilles. He goes to Achilles.
But why Achilles?
Why Achilles?
Because it says in the book.
It's in the original one. He viewed Achilles as his best soldier.
So I say that because I don't know much about the Odyssey. Like I've heard about it, I've
I'm
read
just
parts of
telling
it.
you, in the parts of it,
I've
Achilles was.
never read the entire thing,
Yeah,
but I
most people haven't. It's okay.
a lot of the things I'm familiar with, like the Cyclop and the people turning into pigs. This I was aware of, but like anything else, I was like clueless about everything else.
So when you get to the
Troy as well. Troy, like everyone has
Troy
heard
is
about Troy.
weird. Troy had the better epic. So by ruining the Tartarus scene or the Hades scene, going there, you miss the fact when he sees his mother and he can't hug his mother because she's a spirit. He then asked
That's tragic.
he called because his mother died of grief because he hadn't realized he'd been away. And it's one of the core parts of the story of the Odyssey. The part where when he talks to Achilles, he sees Achilles and go, "Don't you realize you're a god amongst men and you died on the battlefield?" He said, "I would have rather died a humble servant or a farmer instead, if I could do it over again, than be the king of hell."
But to go back to L, maybe it's not accurate. Maybe it's something else. But I love what they did with L. It was a setup and a foreshadowing for the father to be like, yeah, I know your brother or whatever, and I know you're planning to backstab me, but I won't tell you in your face. Like I'm just telling you, I know. That was a nice foreshadowing, and I also think like that L moment made Elliot Page sacrifice early more relevant because you're like, oh, he uses people as pawn, and that's kind of sad.
Well, there that it also makes it extremely, I say, bipolar because the problem with the Sinon scenes are Sinon is not in the thing, but it's more based on a character from the Aeneid. And because you got to understand, Romans basically tried to steal everything the Greeks ever did. Okay? Roman emperors were like, write me an Iliad and
Yeah,
write me an Odyssey. So that's how Virgil went and did his, except the Romans come from the Trojans. Yeah, the weird irony of history. But the Aeneid, that's how the. So Nolan accused not only confused the Aeneid with the Odyssey, he also used the Odyssey's translation according to Emily Wilson. Because the fun part about, and when it goes to marketing, is I don't think there's rumors always about that Nolan's wife is a far left. It's kind of like James Gunn's wife. He watches her. He's a cuckold, and watches his wife get railed by other men. That's the rumor.
yeah.
They
I'm
have
not
like an
surprised.
open marriage.
People in
So,
Hollywood are freaks.
well,
Anyway,
So sorry, you will continue, but there's a lot of it is the reason why they say Gunn is the way Gunn is. Gunn's eccentric, but his wife forces him. Nolan's wife is rather odd herself, but how much
she
it.
sounds like a nutcase. I'm sorry, but like that's
But
how
I don't
she
know if
sounds
that
like.
really influences the work because with the Odyssey, it's kind of like Gunn has Saffron. Nolan has himself and the other people, but he has the pick of the litter when he can do casting. Zendaya was going to play Athena. Supposedly, Tom Holland, who is married to Zendaya, begged to be on on the cast. Got put there. He chose John Blumenthal just out of the blue. He said, "I like the way you read the script." Lapita, he just chose randomly and did like the way she did in one appearance and one reading, then sent the script. It's a weird way of how he chose everybody. Like, there's a whole thing of it's an I can't call it a failure. It's an entertaining film, but you miss the subject matter.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yes.
we will just recap a little bit. So why does the Odyssey being a success matters? Again, it's because people talked about it. It's because it's Christopher Nolan. It's because there's that culture war aspect. There are so many reasons
It's
why
a
it does matter.
generational film, Multi.
Yeah, yeah.
It
It's
is. You think of the Odyssey. It's
you
like
you,
with
you can think of like Pulp Fiction or some classic like that.
every time an Odyssey has been made, even if it's a independent film, it gets a glow up. So it sounds weird when I say this. We were hoping. See, okay, historical film lovers are sometimes the worst victims
They
of.
want everything to be way too accurate.
We either want, okay, we accept certain stuff. See, the Odyssey is part mythology, part history, but as I state, it's a once you get into it, it's a very conflicted script. Does that make sense, Multi?
Yeah.
It it there's a whole discussion at one point, if you ever want to have it, what is really supposed to happen and what actually happens. You can't hint at mythological monsters and not have gods,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
So
it
so now I
Yeah.
can I think we can like continue
Yes.
because we are still very early. So let's get it
Yes.
Also, there's
into it.
articles like this one right here. The Odyssey epic box office haul breaks the go woke, go broke myth from Vanity Fair. This entire article never at any point really argues that The Odyssey is a good movie, or that you should go watch it, or that it is a worthwhile usage of your time. It is framed purely as a culture war piece.
I think it's sad. I think the movie is a bit more than this, and to reduce a movie like that, I think it's insulting to people who actually enjoy movie and don't give a crap about the culture war. So yeah, let's just continue.
Well, the
Talking about what
question
the
really
Odyssey
is,
means in terms of
do
having
they
a
cover it?
diverse cast, and well, not even really truly that. This is more so simply a celebration that the opposition got it wrong. Oh, supposedly so, anyways, rather than any defense of the movie, its quality, the actors, the diversity making it better,
Script.
or anything else. Which is rather fascinating, because I've seen many people bemoaning the fact that these days we don't really discuss anymore whether or not a piece of media is good or bad based upon its own merits, but whether or not it will be good or bad. And most people
Now I pause here because I think we can start a very interesting segment. I'm so tired that everything should be political, everything should be this or that. I'm so tired of a lot of people saying every movie are political. They might be right, but stop watching movies expecting politics. So all of the people saying, "Oh, it's woke, therefore it should be broken," or all of these people that are like celebrating, "Oh, it's woke and now it's not so broke." Like that entire argument is so irrelevant. I think speaking about the movie itself is far more interesting than the culture war in any angle people may attack the movie on that's not related to the movie itself. We should focus more on the media itself than the surrounding aspect or the political footprint, if we can call it that way. What is your thought on that?
You bring up the cinephile thing. I kind of see it, the idea, because I think a lot of that I call the cinephiles love. There's a whole thing, like, not to hit him, like make fun of Cole. Cole thought a lot, looked at the the Marvel and DCEU as he looked at it as, oh, they're entertainment films. You ignore the subject matters. We don't want the comics. But when you're doing certain stuff, making epics or historical stuff, you need accuracy to the source material. You, to a degree, you can cut out parts, but you can't. And this is, look, I think that is the biggest failure of the film.
So again, I will just reiterate that small segment here. I think to recap in a better way, to phrase it better, what I was trying to say, stop with the culture war stuff. Start focusing on the media. I think the media itself is what should be relevant, and we should stop with that culture war stuff, especially with movies. I think it ruined a lot of movies, and now it's starting to creep up in video games. And video games have so many other issues here and there. But
It ruins the subject coverage
I
because
yeah,
it
it's like it
basically
poisoned the wells.
it's like if you're trying to design a video game, like it ruined. I hate to say this, it ruined like people the worst disease. Progressives are the world's worst actual disease. I say this because that the culture when people think the culture war, the progressives did a whole just number on it.
A
Like
lot of people turn out to like stop watching movies because of that. So again, just to frame it even better than what I did is stop with the culture war. It poisons the well. I adore that title for that segment here. Is stop with it. Like just enjoy the media. So let's
what?
get into
Okay,
it.
what do
People's
you
opinions on
call death of meritocracy?
I know it's part. I know it exists, but again, I think our attention should be far more
Yes.
focused on the art, and that should also be the case for the people making it. So I'm not giving a pass on the people making woke stuff. I'm just saying we should talk more about the media itself, and being a grifter is just stupid
And they
and
don't talk.
disgusting.
And the funny thing is, they don't. Do you know in a lot of the articles on the Odyssey, they call it the epic. Oh, you own the chuds.
I, I,
Okay.
I think in general, if you watch movies to watch politics, you don't really like movies. And if you're one of these folks that are like, oh, every movie is our politics, you're also part of the problem. Like that's how I view people in general. And if you're in the making process and you think of politics first before your art, you're also the issue. So I think it's an issue with several sides to it, but I think we should really start thinking back again. Let's make something good. I don't care about woke, and let's just make something good. I think that's the core message I'd like to provide to, as of right now, nobody.
Go back to the craft,
Yeah.
basically.
Let's play more.
entrenched before the movie even comes out. Now, that is largely because after so many years of this nonsense, we've learned what to look
Pattern
after. And
recognition.
more often than not, our side of the aisle is pretty goddamn accurate and correct on this assumption and predictions that we make. But this is not actually a sign of a truly joyless era. Instead, it is a sign of the fact that entertainment, which is the primary reason why many of us, myself included, and most of the current day online cultural commentariat were radicalized to begin with against progressivism, is simply just the forwarding of two positions. One argues that diversity is the most important aspect, and defeating your political opponents, as demonstrated by this article, is by far the point with the greatest import, whereas the other side says, no, we would just like good entertainment. And
Now I pause here because I think we can have a very interesting discussion there, and that's a very interesting follow up to the previous segment we had. And now I think the title of that segment should be turning into radicals. Like there are so many ways, like, and I kind of agree that a lot of the people, especially on the right, are so tired of Hollywood preaching at them and telling them how they should feel and how they should be, and you just turn off a lot of people, and you don't really help your cause because you just reinforce the other side into hating you or what you're trying to do. And it's like the progressive, they see it as a badge of honor, but it's also stupid. You do some harm indirectly. Maybe you don't want that because you feel like you're righteous and everyone should be like you, but then the consequences, you turn off lots of people and other people, like because the well has been poisoned. They just don't want to watch movies because of that idea. So I think by being overly progressive overall in your process of making something, you ruin the thing. Um, yes, you may have pushed your agenda further. Yes, more people may have heard or seen about that. But more people are also getting tired of it. More people are also tuning out. and eventually, like, you will have alienated so many people that your untapped market will no longer tap into what you're doing because they kind of expect the worst. And even
Pattern recognition is the word you're looking for.
even some normies that are not really into culture war, they're woke. Even some normies could be tired of that word, and when they see floating around the rumors that something is woke, maybe they will also think it's woke, and they will be like, you know what, I've seen enough woke stuff, I'm not watching that. So I think a lot of the progressive mindset hurts their cause. Like, yes, they scream to the rooftop, yes, they are hurt, but will people align more with them? No. And you may end up doing the opposite. Like, maybe you will alienate so much people that you may lose people from your side because they're like, I just want to see a good movie or a good something. And I will be honest, like, I used to be like, many years ago, and I, because we are deep into culture war and politics and that kind of stuff, like many years ago I was like so much into immigration. Like, again, I consider myself like a center left leaning like many years ago, but then Canada was a perfect example of too much immigration. So what did it cause? Well, I got alienated with it, and now I'm being radicalized
The
into
liberals
not
went
wanting
chose.
that.
So what happened is a lot of liberals, like when people talk about this is one thing Arts has always talked about for years, same with Sargon. We've all said, yeah, we're the canaries in the coal mine. We saw it. They're like, Games Workshop's now becoming woke. They don't hate the chuds. Come to find out, like it used to be a lot of companies hired based on meritocracy, right? They're hiring based upon talent. You used to hire it not to fill a checkbox. Oh, because of certain things, they started doing that.
And
This is the
and also, I will also add that by saying, oh, we own the chud. Do you think that chud, after you said that, will say, oh, you know what, I'm on board with whatever you're doing? Hell no. Like, it's not all you reunite people. It's not all you solve the division and the polarization. It's not by putting a stigma on a group of people. Like, they will just become more radicalized. They will just drive even more toward that
okay.
echo chamber.
We to win the culture war, right? To win back our culture that the progressives destroyed, like Star Trek, Star Wars, everything else. Do
And
understand that
I
era, it's gone. They
and I
took over hobbies. They're gone.
and I will also say this: like, I don't think there are winners in culture wars like that, because eventually one side will only present that, but the other side will just not really go into that because the other side took over. And the people in the middle, they may continue, but like, you won't change many minds. So yes, of course, some people will turn out. Like, if your goal of your culture war is for people to no longer watch movies and TV shows, and if you don't want people to game anymore, if you want your industry to die, then keep doing that. This is the formula to destroy a market. It's to alienate enough people so nobody wants to turn in for your stuff.
So
Is
I
that a
think what it
win?
was
I don't think
like
it's a win.
so like one of the first casualties in the modern era, people forget it, was actually Star Trek. Star Trek under Kurtzman was taking a very different approach. And most people don't like the way that Star Trek, what happened to it. But largely you can blame the, like, I will blame the right people for it. Like, the activists are like, oh, we want this to be more. But when you make stuff, you got to bear in mind, I'm making a video game. Who is it for? Right? If it's for nobody, if it's for a niche, right?
If it's for nobody, nobody will get it.
Nobody will
Nobody
buy
will,
it. And
will
if you buy
yeah.
it for a you change. I hate to say this. People who watch Star Trek are going to watch Star Trek. If you want to make it a broader market, right? A wider view, and I've always said this, companies moved to do the myth. I call it the mythical wider market, right? That's what I call it. It's basically we want that. When you make a film for everybody, you make a film for nobody. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Like again, you need to aim for either a noun majority, or you need to aim for a specific group of people. And if you only aim for like the left or the right, you may only have a portion of the market. But if you aim for everyone, you won't hit anyone.
It's like the Sisterhood. Look, we're guys. We're not going to watch the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants,
Yeah.
right?
I only watch like romantic movies with my wife, or sometimes my own, because it's a guilty pleasure of mine. But like, I don't have that instinct of watching that kind of movies. It's just not for me.
That's the thing. Guys are not going to watch. It's the thing. People don't realize it. Like, I like Dune. Dune is my book. Ever there's a Dune film, like I know. But this goes back with culture stuff. Star Wars. Star Trek was always the moderate people were like, we need to be more progressive, right? We need to have it. The Federation needs to be more like. And then they made Star Trek modern. That's what the fans hated. We started seeing Star Trek go more modern, right? That's not what we want in our Star Trek. The message of Star Trek is futurism. That's when we started seeing it. We're like, this isn't our Star Trek. Who was Star Trek Discovery made for?
Yeah.
It's not that the chuds hated Star Trek Discovery. They love Strange New Worlds, believe it or not. Strange New Worlds is considered not bad, but but it's not our Star Trek. Picard season 1 and season 2 alienated the fans, and it wasn't. I hate to say this, as much as I like Star Trek: The Next Generation, that's largely Patrick Stewart's doing. When we get into Star Wars, we want Star Wars destroyed, multi. Like, we grew up on it. The Last Jedi was just, oh, we know, like Star Trek, a lot of the actors are lefty. Surprising, a lot of the actors that were in The Next Generation are diehard lefty.
I also think a lot of the industry itself is like that, and the same goes for media, like media in general. Like many spheres of population are more left leaning. It's just natural, I think.
And then you
Anyway,
get into Star. And here's the thing: include this. People don't realize when we look at like what happened with properties, we saw the destruction of characters, and the first thing these people try to deconstruct is the iconic parts.
yeah,
So, I mean, I look at it as it's not like we tell you like the activists got into the writing rooms. They were
yeah,
like, well, we're going to do this. It's like in gaming, Sweet Baby Inc. They've been there for 10 years.
yeah.
But you got to understand that film wise, we want to watch something to be successful. No one wanted the Odyssey to fail. We just wanted a good film. I know it's going to sound weird. Odyssey.
I think we got it in general, but yeah. So now let's play more of that video.
We will fight you on that, even if we have to get quite political to do so. Now, the Odyssey is an interesting one, because it started long before the movie started coming out, of course.
Yes,
with
it did.
Lots of people arguing that it will make $1 billion.
The leftists hated it first because they thought Nolan was going to play with the chuds.
And I'll just pause here. Making $1 billion, I'm sorry, but it's not because sometimes someone makes $1 billion that every single movie it will make $1 billion. Like, yes, let's admit, Christopher Nolan, I think he did at least 2 movies with $1 billion. I know Oppenheimer and The Dark Knight did $1 billion, but the other movies he did, I don't know. I don't quite know. So we cannot expect someone to always perform that way. Like, it's like lightning in a bottle. You can't replicate it. So maybe eventually you may end up making another billion at some point. But look at his filmography. Out of 13 movies, I think he only got like 1 billion, maybe 3, because there were 3 Batman. So I don't know.
Let's be clear. The problem with a lot of Nolan's films is you got to sit through a 3-hour film, a
Yeah.
2-hour film.
Yeah.
Half the time, it's
A
I'm
lot
not.
of people are turned off by that kind of length.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
I
not an
struggle with Odyssey. I feel like Odyssey could have been like 20 to 30 minutes shorter.
It's also, I feel like Odyssey's one of those films. Like, if you miss a section of that film, I feel like you missed something.
It depends which section. Like, I think
I-
early in the movie, some parts could be trimmed down.
Go. Even someone like Nerdrotic, a very large name in this sphere, says the Odyssey has more red flags than San Francisco preparing for a Xi Jinping visit. In no way do I think it
laughing
will
about
flop.
that.
And that is an interesting take, because I actually kind of think that it might be flopping. But Art, it earned $250 million, etc. We'll get to that in but a second. This will be the biggest case of how much of a bubble the internet is once those box office numbers hit, and that is a big point as well. The argument amongst the progressive side right now is that Twitter, once held up as a beacon of truth and reality when it was owned by their side, is merely just an echo chamber, a bubble that doesn't represent reality at all.
Yet they admire blue sky. So the left, it's fascinating. The left is fascinating because they blame the right for doing the exact same thing they are doing. They are fascinating. So what do you want to add on that?
No, I was going to say it's like game developers now actually like to praise, they think Reddit is where you get the gaming opinions, all right? It sounds weird. Me personally, I don't think that's the case. Like, when a film is made for some, as I said, the problem is a lot of people you will find is Disney. I blame Disney for this, okay? Disney is very adorable in the whole fact, and I keep this article bookmarked. They said that there was toxic fandom. They started the rage bait marketing.
And I think toxic fandom exists on both sides of the aisle. It's not
But
specific to one side.
They said toxic fandom. They said because people started hating on the MCU, not for them being not the greatest of films, right? They blamed it on toxic fandom. They blamed the death of Star Wars, their Star Wars products, on the toxic fandom, the fandom menace. Now, it's going to sound weird, but that's true. It sounds utterly odd.
It's always easier to put the blame on someone else and not taking any of it, not owning up to anything, and you're like, oh, that's because of them if it's failed. Well, there's guilty parties, but it's not consumer fault. It's I think it's never the consumer fault to a failing product. Never it should be the case. I think the people that should be held accountable to a failure are the people involved. And like the perfect example I mentioned earlier, fire Peter Safran. The guy has proven times and times there's something wrong in what he does. He has more failure than success. So and yeah,
You got to bear in mind, did you know that the woman who, Gillespie, she was writing on the one who did the Supergirl script. She's working on, was working on the Batgirl script. The movie that got canceled?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So again, that's a sign. James Gunn wasn't even around when that Batgirl movie was being made.
Oh, and here's the fun fact about Batgirl. Everyone's like, okay, how bad is Batgirl that it is that?
So again, I see a common point.
I-
Bad
her-
Girl sounded so terrible,
they
and it
chose
got
to
canned.
release. They wrote that film off, and then they released The Flash. Jesus.
Again, so I see one common factor: Peter Safran. So you cannot blame the fans for that. You
Well,
just
I mean,
can't.
she was a. And then when Gunn found her, who did the script for Supergirl, they found her, and she was doing scripts for script fixing.
Yeah, if you
So,
do something bad, don't expect people to consume it. That's how I view that.
I'm not gonna watch.
And
I'm
the
sorry.
recent strings of massive box office failures, like Supergirl, for example, doesn't actually matter or anything. But the Odyssey will finally be the one to prove that the progressives still have it in them to win. Or the usual mockery: oh, I hate fantasy world isn't full of straight white people. It's not fantasy world, but details, and so it goes on, even to the point where there is definitely some cope from our side as well. Big discovery, flashing red lights. Listen, anything said after flashing red lights on Twitter is automatically rejected as a simple lie. I don't care if it states that the sky is blue, it is indigo if there are red flashing lights appearing ahead of it. And of course, they're buying out cinemas, which I still don't really believe. I mean, come the hell on now.
It depends on the cases, but I don't think with Odyssey we'll see. I don't know,
I don't think it's the Captain Marvel situation.
yeah.
The Captain Marvel situation is where we thought Disney was buying out, right?
Yeah.
But I think with Odyssey, I believe there was a genuine. Remember, I said just based on Nolan and it being in IMAX, theaters pre-sold.
Yeah. So let's continue now.
I've seen some persuasive argument for it, but it's too much of a conspiracy theory even for myself. And of course, the mainstream publications too were all over the Odyssey. The gaslighting preceding its release was thick enough to cut with a goddamn sword. And obviously, all of the reactions thereafter, paid reactions largely, were astonishingly
So I will share this because we bring something I find always weird to hear about. The mainstream publication, the mainstream. We call that all the time, you see, but I think they are more of the legacy media because I don't think they're the future. Let's be honest. Like, most of these people rely on government Enzel. Most of these people rely on not necessarily their own identity, but the line of whoever they're writing for, and they don't have the same kind of following. I think people that are truly independent are the true future there. They may try very hard. The establishment may try very hard to silence them, but I think if you're a true person, if you go against the current, I think you have a lot more chances of
I was
success.
gonna say there's a part to the Odyssey reviews, which it sounds insane, right? The problem with the Odyssey review, like let's say any critic review is okay. We call them shills. Like there was a thing and insert whatever movie here. They try desperately to get good reviews. Because let's say a bad review in maybe a critic's eyes is going to murder a success of something. It sounds weird, but that's probably how they view it. They view it as that's going to be a disaster.
So
Nah.
again, I think we should stop calling the mainstream because I don't think they are mainstream. I think they are legacy. They are the heritage. They're what used to be the only voice, but it's no longer the case. There are so many big people out there that simply have their voice being heard, and I think these folks that are genuine and honest will have more success. And I will say the grifters, um, if they act like the mainstream did act, and um, they think themselves as being above anything else, they may have some kind of fate. So I think honesty will always strive. So let's play more of that video now.
Knowing it is a masterpiece, an epic, Christopher Nolan's The Lord of the Rings, etc., etc. But if all of this is true, why again do we have an article that spends more time talking about Ghostbusters and Star Wars than it does The Odyssey? Well, this is part of a long-term cope that Vanity Fair itself was, of course,
I disagree. It's not necessarily cope. I think they are like that because the cultural war sells more than reviews, or it. I think politics in general sells. If you stand and you say, "Oh, I'm against the chuds," you may have a certain kind of audience. Or if you're like, "Oh, I'm against the woke," you may have that kind of audience as well, of other people, of like-minded people. So I think the big reason why we talk more about the culture war in general, it's because it sells. It's because there's always a buyer if you have a specific angle. But will people truly look into reviews of movies purely for a review if there's no politics attached to it? Some people will, but others won't. They will simply disregard it. So I think overall the reason why so many people speak about the culture war is because it sells. It sells. It's sad, but it's reality. That's how it goes. It shouldn't be the case, but this is how the media landscape turned into. This is what it has become over the years. And it sucks, but we gotta admit that. We gotta say, you know what? It is what it is. So let's play more of that now.
Oh, Twitter bans conservatives. Blogger who led online abuse about Leslie Jones, one of the actors of Ghostbusters, which was going to be a huge success, beloved by real men who did not at all feel that it ruined their childhood. It flopped, of course, and the cope was very much so real. But again, what about The Odyssey? So, The Odyssey had a very strong domestic release in the US at $123 million, and then an international release of $140 million, landing at $263 million worldwide.
And let's be fair here. I think a lot of movies are indeed dropping. It's natural, it's normal. The true question is, at the end of the run, after the full months or the 5 weeks, the movie will still be new. How much money will it make? This is more the true question. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Let's give the movie time and space to breathe. I know some people that only get to see movies 2 weeks later, or a week and a half, or on week 3, or sometime they don't even go at the theater anymore. So it's complex, and let's be fair. I think we should be fair. So let's play more of that now.
On a supposed production budget of $250 million, which, by the way, is bullshit, considering how long they've been making this movie and the people starring in it. Double that, and you're probably in the vicinity of the actual costs. And even if we don't do that, marketing budget. So the movie still hasn't earned its keep quite yet, but this number is touted as a massive success, $263 million opening weekend. And
I don't think it's a massive success because, again, some people wait and see. So I think really the metric is at the end of the 4 weeks. Let's say 4 weeks. How much money will it make? You cannot say that soon. If you say that soon, you sound like someone that is a cheerleader, or someone that truly wants to stick up to a point. You sound like someone that's in a hurry because you feel like maybe you have weak argument, or maybe people will wake up to something. It's like it's very hard to explain, but we shouldn't be thinking that way. It's just tragic. Let the movie breathe, and we will see if it's truly successful in the end.
if that was domestic, it would indeed be amazing. Many people have pointed out that it's tracking better than Oppenheimer, which of course was another huge release with the domestic opening of $82 million. But Oppenheimer was a very, 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 very different movie about something honestly rather universally appealing. And one of the largest markets outside of America, which Oppenheimer did quite well, is of course China, $61 million. How do you think The Odyssey is gonna fare in China? Firstly, considering their absolute disregard for Western mythology, and secondly, the blacks and the trannies inside of it, I doubt it'll do particularly well, but already we are beginning to see a little bit of a fallout here, and let me point out another thing. So, the domestic opening of The Odyssey was $123 million, an incredible success, but what if we...
A lot of the China market is full of bigots and chuds. Let's face it, let's be honest. Like, a lot of these Asian country or Middle East countries, they don't look at Western values. They don't value it. They're actually pissed at it. And even some of the countries in Africa, they are pretty like in the past. And that kind of movie won't sell. It just won't sell to these markets. I think the Odyssey mostly will succeed in Western countries because we like the woke, and that's the biggest market of the woke. But can you really make a bunch of money in Asia with a woke product? I doubt it. I don't think so. Maybe I might be wrong, and maybe they like the woke stuff, but I just got the feeling that they don't. Because look at their media, how different they are. They don't always think about, I think, checkbox. And let's be honest, a lot of countries outside of the West are anti-immigration. They don't like other colors, or they put their religion or their race above the other race and the other set of beliefs. Try selling that movie to these heavy far right Christian that cannot stand LGBTQ plus, and just let them know there's a trans in the movie. They won't even try or dare to look at that. And I know what I'm talking about. My wife is like that. She's African. She's a big Christian, and a lot of people are in her set of belief where if there's a trans, I don't want to see it, or yeah, or LGBTQ or that kind of stuff. They just want union. They don't want to see it. They don't care about that. Only the West care about that. And maybe like India or Thailand, they may be into it, but I don't think it will be a big selling point the same way it is in the West. And that's a reality. That's different market and different set of beliefs. So yeah, China, good luck. Good luck with that.
compare that
LGBTQ plus is not always accepted everywhere, unfortunately.
to another summer blockbuster from last year, Superman, $125 million. So more actually than The Odyssey. Now, you can argue that Superman is a bigger name than The Odyssey, and I would actually argue the opposite in this. Once upon a time, absolutely, Superman was the biggest name ever. He's the second most known character since Jesus Christ. But that was a very, very long time ago. DC is now near synonymous with failure and toxicity and the complete and utter mismanagement of every character they've ever created, with Superman himself.
And I do strongly agree with that statement. I think DC doesn't get their act together when it comes to at least movie in theaters. I do think they did amazing with TV shows. They were not perfect, but they did what they needed to do, and they had an audience for quite some time. And I do think the Arrowverse was far more successful in what it tried to do and tried to be than any era of DC movies on the big screen. I said it. That's how I believe. That's what I think. Again, it's not the best thing there is, but I do think the CW, I do think the Arrowverse did something no one else did with DC characters. We had 60 plus characters. We had crossover yearly. We have hundreds and hundreds of episodes. I think the entire Arrowverse is around 1,000 episodes if you also count Smallville into that. No one else did that. Even the MCU didn't reach that height. Now, the MCU was more successful overall, but it didn't do as much crossover or as much world building as the Arrowverse did for, if you count Smallville, 21 years. If you only count After Arrow, it's at least 13 years.
I would say what we're talking about the after release of Arrow, like, isn't it? What would you say? Like,
So what I was
Arrow
saying,
is one of those ones that started off as a subtle DC nod, but it was largely that, and then they always did the multiverse crossovers.
yeah. So what I was basically saying when you were away is
Sorry,
DC, the movies, they can't act, they can't get their act together, and the Arrowverse was quite successful. It did stuff other universe didn't do well, and they were impactful. They just can't get their act together when it comes to movies. I think the TV shows did a great job for what they were trying to do. The movie, you cannot say the same. It's discontinued. It's always like discontinued. I should say, sorry, my French took over, but it was discontinued. And like most of the movies, they always need to reboot. And Arrowverse, you know what they did? They only had 13-ish years if you only count Arrow and after Arrow died with Superman and Lois ending, it was roughly 13 years. If you count Smallville, it's 20 plus years. It's quite some times. And what I was saying is, DC just can't get their act together. They just can't. The only thing they did right was the CW. And again, the Arrowverse. The Arrowverse is not perfect. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is really the only truly successful, the only truly good universe that did exactly what they wanted without a reboot, without a cancellation, was the Arrowverse. Yes, some of the pieces were canceled, like Batwoman or like Black Lightning ended in a very weird way, but most of the Arrowverse related TV show ended on their own term, and the overall universe itself did what it wanted to do.
I think the Flash, they overestimated the success of the Flash. Like, I think the Arrow was a success. They kind of saw Smallville. It wasn't Smallville.
The Flash was also highly successful. The later season were all a disaster, and overall, if you just talk about quality of the show, like the Flash wasn't great, but it was still quite popular. It was more popular than Arrow overall because Arrow third and fourth season were so bad. It's because it went from like season 1 and 2 that were amazing, and we had like just trash after that.
I think it went campy. If we say it went campy.
Well, it got back to being better with season 5. I think Arrow season 5 and upward was fine, but season 3 and 4 were such a big dirt. It was so bad. And like if you just compare 1 to 1, season 1 and 2 of Arrow are far better than the Flash season 1 and 2. So when the Flash started not doing so great with 3 and 4, it was like just a small downgrade, and people still kept going.
I will say the beginning it was, but it did run off. It's like parts of Smallville weren't the greatest either. Like that's Smallville had that weird decline too.
Yeah. Again, DC can't get their act together. That's how I view it. And
it was like a minor reboot. Because what was it? Because like
it was a minor reboot. Yeah.
Like, what would you consider Birds of Prey? Did you ever see that show?
I've heard about it. I know it exists. I haven't seen it.
So Birds of Prey was like pre-Arrowverse.
Yeah, I know it was like 2003 or 2004.
You know, not particularly. It was a better take.
It lasted like two seasons, I think, 1 season.
Yeah, and it
was scanned.
It's not like we ask when shows are made for something. it has to be made for something.
Unfortunately, Birds of Prey were not that known, and it was very, very niche, and that's why they failed. Anyway, let's play this.
Being an archetypical example of that, the movie had a majoritively negative to mixed kind of early reception before its release, with most of the critics arguing that James Gunn's marketing was deeply confusing, and everybody didn't quite know what to believe about the movie. Whereas the August Odyssey was, of course, largely negative.
Superman.
Yet, Superman actually earned more in the US. Now, Superman's great failing was a very, 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 very weak international market, and the Odyssey is probably going to have a stronger one, but how much stronger will it be? At this point, the qualifications for the Odyssey to be a true success is basically the breaking $1 billion mark, to be Christopher Nolan's biggest success ever, and I don't think it's going to. So, I'm going to go out on a limb here. My prediction is that it's going to do fine, relatively speaking. It's probably going to earn like 500 million. I think it's probably going to end up in the ballpark, in fact, of Superman, which is...
I do agree with everything he says so far. That's why I didn't interrupt it, but I wanted to add something else. For those people that expect $1 billion every time, everywhere, you guys are wrong. It's a different economy. It's a different era. And people just don't have that money anymore. It won't happen. And I think at that point, we are 2 weeks in. With Odyssey, maybe a third week will bring more money, and maybe a fourth week will also bring a lot of money. But the big catch, I highly doubt that it will truly make $1 billion. I think at that point, you need a miracle. You need like next week, Spider-Man. They must try to lash on like in marketing Odyssey to Spider-Man. I don't think they can, but that might be.
I think Spider-Man. Look, Spider-Man's one of those weird ones with mixed marketing as well. Like they're not giving away the plot, okay? But
yeah,
that's the problem that people kind of like. See, okay, there's a part where you can see in a trailer. I hate bringing up and bashing Supergirl alive. Supergirl was the best of the movie inside the trailer. Okay.
Yeah.
Everywhere else was, you look at it like and that's the problem. Gunn's marketing, let's say Gunn, or even Nolan's marketing, because Nolan knows, and I don't think he knows 100% that the certain translation that he's in, it's not based on the Emily Wilson translation. Okay, well, if it's not based on the Emily Wilson's translation, and then you had all the weird kind of shitty marketing of, if I could, Lapito was like, if I see, what would I tell Homer that why'd you spend so little time with the women? How much were they in the film? How much was Elliot Page in the film?
Barely in it.
And that's like in an interview that it's making its way around. It's kind of odd, but it's like, so why aren't you going after Nolan for only using you for 15 minutes, 10 minutes? And you're the same person who was complaining about being typecast as a slave in that slave movie, and you turned down basically the role in The Woman King.
But again, I will reiterate. I don't think it will make a billion. Do you think it will make a billion?
No, it might 500, 600.
Yeah, I think it's.
It's so. What do we say? It was 130. It was about 130, and then it lost like 4. It was one. Yeah, it was like 130.
Yeah.
So it lost, let's assume, 40% drop off rate. It's not the decay of Supergirl. It's just, let's assume
it's a smaller decay, but it decayed nonetheless.
It's a decent decay. It was like $4 million, if not more, just in one day. So I had to go back and look specific. But like, it made 100 and let's say make 130 week one that it lost. So let's assume it's a 20-30% decay based on word of mouth afterwards. Yeah, that thing is gonna it's gonna trickle up. It will make probably like 500 something,
Yeah.
but it ain't gonna be. I firmly believe if it was halfway decent, it would be at least that it would have been a half. It would have been 7, 8.
I think it's more than decent, but let's play more of the video now because let's hear more about his thoughts.
Now considered largely both by the majority of the audience and by DC themselves to have probably been a failure. And here's the thing as well. The box office is only part of the message. The Disney Star Wars reboots earned a lot of money, but it ended up killing the entire franchise. That is exactly the position that Superman is in right now. DC understands the James Gunniverse, although it went off to a somewhat sort of pseudo-promising start in certain ways, clearly doesn't actually manage to capture the majesty and the magic of the universe. And any attempts to continue doubling down on that, like with Supergirl, is only going to increase the damage to the brand. The benefit of the Odyssey is that the only brand it will truly damage is in essence Christopher Nolan's, but even that will not get out of this unscathed. Christopher Nolan is largely the reason why the Odyssey is even the middling, in my opinion, success that it actually is, because of his name recognition.
I'll pause here because I think it's the perfect start of a new segment, a brand damage. I do think the DC, by the fact that they can't get their things together, they have that brand damage that Christopher Nolan doesn't have. And I think we can say, oh, because Christopher Nolan doesn't have that brand damage yet, he may have a chance on having a more successful movie, and I think it could make a lot of sense here. I think, and that's my humble opinion, and a lot of people will disagree because I have crazy takes, but I think the only bad Nolan movie was The Dark Knight Rises. I think that's the only truly awful movie. And let
It's
me
kinda
continue.
like
Let me
people
continue.
trust-
Let me continue. It's the only bad Nolan movie. So I think Nolan at that point doesn't truly have a damaged brain. And I will also add this. A lot of people thought Tenet wasn't so great or Dunkirk wasn't so great, but you don't see the kind of backlash on these movies that you see on other movies with damaged brand like DC. DC get a lot more backlash than Tenet or Dunkirk that are not as well received as other Christopher Nolan movies. So again, overall, I think Christopher Nolan still has the star power. He still has the brand power. Something the DC things don't have, and I think one of the responsible might be Gunn, but it also might be Peter Safran because I think at that point he's proven to not be so great at some aspect to whatever the job he had. If it was better, I think marketing might be better, or other aspect of the production and the movie itself would be better. So now I will let
I
you.
was gonna say, yeah, one part when people think about it, it's like Bethesda was a very trusted game brand, just like Ubisoft is, until you make a couple of bad games, something like that. You get down there, you're
Yeah.
gonna, and then that's when your brand recognition goes to hell in a handbasket. It's like,
I think DC really damaged its brand by having so many reboots and so many different cook in the kitchen and keeping some bad elements. And I will keep saying I think Peter Safran is a bad element because I don't hear his name enough, but he's been around for way too long. At some point, maybe he should try another IP, another sphere of production. Maybe you should go elsewhere. Maybe go ruin Marvel. I don't know.
well,
I
there's the argument of Nolan hasn't screwed over, like
he didn't screw over as
Some
much as
people will
DC.
say he hasn't been tied to anything. Like I would say, like Ryan Johnson, like anybody who worked with Disney on the reboots of Star Wars, The Mandalorian, like arguably, like because you got to look at the greats as well. Like Jar Jar Abrams is called Jar Jar Abrams because he has a hard time making films.
Yeah.
It's the problem of that's J.J. Abrams who did the Star Trek reboots. But you have even the people like Dave Filoni, no one has faith in to reboot Star Wars. And it's like, oh, you're gonna be the head to do it? Ooh.
Doubt it. Doubt it. So let's play more of that video now.
Because of things like Oppenheimer, because of things like Dark Knight, etc. This is him trading in on that reputation. And I think that people will go watch it because of the reputation, ignoring the online backlash, and due to the sheer quantity.
Agreed. A lot of people don't even follow that kind of drama because they only watch movies to watch movies. They exist. They are around among us.
Of the love bombing campaign that was initiated on its behalf by the mainstream, and the near unified opposition to anti-wokeism, but most of these people will watch it once. They'll come out of the cinema and go, eh.
And I will also say this, a lot of cinephile will also probably only watch that once. I don't think that movie has much replay value anyway. There's no big mystery, there's no big things that you're like, oh, if I rewatch I may have a different experience. I don't see that with that movie. So I just don't think there's a replay or rewatch value to the Odyssey.
It was weird, the costumes were kind of ugly, the story was so-and-so, and there was a lot of weird diversity in it. And other people will go, well, it doesn't really sound like something I want to watch. Do I want to sit through a 3-hour movie of meh?
Again, that 3 hour? 3 hour might be an argument for
It
not
was
watching.
2 hours and 44 minutes. Yeah, that's a long ass film.
Like, many people will just see the runtime, they will be like, oh, yeah, I'm out. I'm not watching that.
I think it's going to fall off rather rapidly. And as for the quality of the movie itself, well, I can't speak yet, as I'm going to watch the damn thing tomorrow, just in time for our big reveal viewing of it, our review of it, with myself, Sargon, and Lumi on Stamford Bridge on Thursday. But I think this isn't actually the success it's currently being made out to be. And a lot of this is merely just...
I can see his argument and the way he frames it, but I think I will push back. And do you think there's lots of relevance to the rest of the video?
Yeah. I recommend it as kind of like finishing it off a little bit.
Okay.
Just right now, celebration of we're winning, we're owning the chuds finally, which hasn't happened for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years or something. I think it's going to age rather poorly. I think,
and again, a lot of people that are like, we are owning the chuds, I think they are kind of hilarious. They're delusional. They're not like touching grass. I think they're deeply wrong. I think a lot of the chuds, they won't watch it. Like, you didn't convince them to go to your side, and I think you alienated them so much. So maybe your product made more money than what they like to say, go broke, go woke, but did you convince them to join up in your crusade? I don't think so. So I don't think it's only them.
Because there's the problem of the activists, and I've always said the problem's in the activists. And this is something Arch has talked about for the longest time. We've all said it on our side. They're just now admitting, we don't care if we burn your franchises to the ground, right? We burn your franchises to the ground, we get, we beat the chuds. It's like, we destroy things. It's like, but when you ask them what they really won, like, you look at it, Rings of Power, like, Bezos is married to that thing for 5 seasons. He paid for it, okay?
Yeah, and again, I think it's a very short segment there, but I will repeat myself. I don't think there is a owning the chuds. Like, okay, some of your woke stuff can have success, but does that mean they're good? Does that mean being woke is the solution? I don't think so. Like, I think truly owning the chuds would mean you are able to bring them to your side. And I don't think it's going on. I don't think it will ever happen because of the approach and the way society has been polarized over the years. I don't see it happening. Owning the chuds, it's hilarious.
Well, I think the biggest
They should
problem.
stop thinking that way.
So the problem is, well, we see. I've always had this. So you've never really seen this in, I would say, Arch's community as much, because a lot of the people are like, we don't. A lot of the people, the reason why the historian people dislike what happened with the Odyssey, it's largely because it's fine if you have a change on the story itself. There isn't the problem because when Lumi, Arch, and Sargon talk, it's more of a disappointment discussion because Nolan hasn't had really any major failures. Now, it's unlike any other director, oh, we know you are associated with it. And the thing about it is, it's just disappointment. But did he know anything about the works he was doing prior? I'm sure he researched it, but no. The chuds really don't lose. Like, the problem is, the activist says we're winning, or the progressives, they go, we subverted this. But it comes at the cost of Star Wars, Star Trek. We no longer have this. They basically chase the normie out of the theater, out of the watching the shows.
A lot of people just want to see a movie, and when they hear about marketing, they may be centrist or they may be apolitical, and they just see the marketing, and it's like it's you on the chuds. Like, maybe some of the centrists or some of the people that are not political, it's like the moment there's a movie hurting one side or the other, we shouldn't be looking at that movie, or I'm not interested, or I don't want politics in my movies, and a lot of people don't want politics in their movies, and that's
What would you
reality.
say about what would you say about the movie One Battle After Another?
Um,
Do you see it?
yeah, I have seen it. I thought it was overblown. It was overrated. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't so bad. Like, I'd say the movie was good, but it wasn't as impressive as what everyone was saying. I just don't agree with that take.
Would you
And
call it the Antifa movie?
yeah, it was the Antifa movie. Yeah,
The novel was largely written in a revolutionary fashion.
yeah.
Now, it's called One Woke After Another, and it was set up to be a highly weird film. I mean, based on it's
I
not
think it
like
was well received by many people. Like Gray liked it. I know Charles liked it as well.
Mhm. It had a good, but it was set up as a movie to own the chuds and largely got forgotten and made fun of.
Yeah.
The Odyssey is going to do again, okay, but it's not going to warrant any expansion. It's not going to warrant any Odyssey cinematography. Odyssey, Christopher Nolan. There we go. That was the word I was looking for. Expansion upon this mythological idea here, and it certainly isn't going to be his Lord of the Rings by any stretch of the imagination. So, I ask you then the same question: is the Odyssey truly a success? Is it even going to earn its budget back with marketing? Just barely so, I'd estimate, but not much beyond that. And is all of the critics going to grow rather silent in a month's time? I very, very much so believe so.
I agree with that statement.
Until next time, then.
The media cycle.
Very much
It's the
watching.
media cycle. You can stop there. No, it's what he's talking about, and I have had this discussion. How much do you think the media cycle exists?
I don't know.
So what do you say the life cycle of something is?
It
2 to
depends on
3
how good.
days.
It depends on the product itself. I think a TV show always has more lifespan um um than a movie. Like
Um,
I think if you got a masterpiece, an amazing movie, you have more chance. But like TV shows, there's always more attention to it because it's longer. Except if it's a one drop, like if it's a weekly thing, more eyes will be on it, I think.
well, see, that's when you get into the, is it a seasonal thing? Is it a release? Like, and I say this because a lot of people forget in the media cycle, whether it's the influencers and Twitter. I think Twitter plays a part in blowing up stories.
TikTok does. So I think TikTok, like my wife is always on TikTok.
TikTok is a big influencer.
Yeah.
Like TikTok is big.
Yeah. So I think the news cycle can be maybe like for a movie that's amazing and that people think about it and speak about that. I think that might be 2 weeks because by 2 weeks most people will have seen it.
Yeah.
But if it's an amazing movie, then it can be longer. But I think on average and in general, like I think 2 weeks is like the maximum you can reach.
I think the movie, because the problem is it also depends on the release cycle.
It depends on what happens next. Like next week, there's Spider Man. Like people will suddenly forget there was the
I
Odyssey.
mean, I've often said this too. If you look at like, uh, go look at something like, sorry, go look at something similar to a very bad game. Like a game lives and dies by its game trailer, if that makes sense. By
Yeah,
its game trailer, that's when people see it. But like when you look at a television show, that's how I see it. You sometimes like, did you know they're coming up? Netflix is coming up with another Blade Runner TV show for the
are
Blade
you
Runner,
kidding me?
and I'm like, I'm kind of
Why?
dying. I don't want to know it.
I will be honest. I
It's gonna
consider
go
myself
into. It's gonna look like
dragon
Cyberpunk. So
dragon. Let me
yeah,
continue. I consider myself a cinephile. I love movies and all. But I feel like now I'm exhausted because they keep blasting always new things, new things, new things, and I'm each time I hear a new announcement of something really big, I'm like, oh, really? I start to lose interest in big IPs. Um, and I think it's because it's too saturated. Like everyone tries to get their blockbuster or their big IP, or I'm so tired of that. And I know I'm not the only one on that mindset, but
I don't understand it. People are already saying, "Oh, the chuds are gonna hate this." I don't think so. The problem with Blade Runner is in a weird spot because I don't know if the second Blade Runner was the greatest. Because
I
Blade
loved
Runner,
it more than the first one.
I could see that. I didn't hate the second one. It's something I'd have to rewatch just to remember it a little bit better, but it wasn't as, oh, the replicants could become more human. But like they're doing the drip marketing. If you have something that has a massive marketing, like you might hear about it 6 months out. And this is something I was going to review X-Men 97. And I may just have to do a bulk review of it. But we had no notification they were doing X-Men 97.
And there's also another season of effing Dexter. It's like, bruh, stop.
Like,
There's too
okay,
much
just
content.
so people know, the second season we waited because they filmed 16 episodes together. They were because animation budgets are 16 episodes. Even Velma was already slated for a second season. They just released them in eight episode batches. All right, hate it, love it, hate it. They didn't even tell us X-Men 97 was being released.
That's stupid.
And that's like something we're like, oh, but we're dropping the first 3 episodes. What?
Oh my.
They dropped the first three,
Are
and
you kidding me?
want to see like kind of what it's starting like. And this is when okay, it used to be in streaming. If people dumped all the episodes, the show was bad or the thing, because the next Avatar, like you didn't know, there's another Avatar series coming out
Are
set
you kidding me?
after Korra. It's all
Why?
it's actually being
It's
done
so saturated.
in
Anyway,
October.
let's go back to the Odyssey, because
Yeah,
now that tangent went
yeah.
on for too long. So we will ask the question. I will ask you the question. Do you think is the Odyssey a real success? Do you think
I
so?
don't think it's as big a success as it could have been.
Okay, well, I
I think the casting, I think what when we found out about it, people are just more, it's a solid disappointment. It
yeah,
sounds weird when I say this.
yeah,
I don't hate the film myself because I dislike how they took liberties with the story itself, because I think that's a choice with the source he used.
yeah,
And I'm going to be very honest. If you're a history buff, the reason why, yes, like I'm not going to get on to you and say, oh, you are not on my level, because you don't. Most people only read the Iliad and the Odyssey when they're in high school. The actresses and the actors were like, oh, I didn't even read it. It's like, okay. But if you're doing it, a base Google search would tell you what the story is about,
yeah.
right?
I didn't read the entire thing, but I knew about the Cyclops. I knew about the men turning into pigs, and I knew about Troy. So I knew about
Like
like
when we say it,
three important pieces.
like what I will say, what disappoints the people more is everyone universally agrees the Cyclops scene is a thing of horror. Like, it's good. And see, okay, this is where you get into Nolan's style of filming. He likes, he hates using supposedly CGI. He hates expensive budgets, so he uses practicality. He uses, like, the Cyclops looks scary. The Cersei scene looks weird as, but what that takes away is you damage what that scene is supposed to convey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so the scene in when he goes to deal with the Cyclops wheels it up. There's a bunch of Cyclops. Of course, Polymus is the son of Poseidon. He says his name is Nobody, and one guy goes, oh, you're talking to the great Lord Odysseus. And it was so the Cyclops doesn't know who he is, and if anything happened, Poseidon wouldn't have cursed him.
Yeah,
Now, eventually it comes to it, he has to blind him to let him out. But
yeah,
he says his name is Nobody.
yeah.
And that's
So
the key of there's key parts of it
yeah,
that get
so
lost.
now I will ask the well, I should say I will answer myself about
Mhm.
is the Odyssey really a success? I think it was. Maybe it wasn't a success in terms of money because they will barely make money. Like I think it will underperform. Maybe it will end up being a success with money, just because of VOD and because people went to see the IMAX and that kind of stuff. Maybe they will slightly more perform money wise than I thought, but I think it was indeed a success, mostly because Cinephile liked it. I think a lot of people
I
liked it.
think the normies, because if you look past the more stuff that I think it's if they like if you largely look over the stuff that was borderline forgotten about, I believe personally that's the issue. It's one of the biggest problems with the film. The
I
film,
think people will forget about the Odyssey, but at the moment, it was a success, and that's
I
my
think
take.
it's going the okay, see, here's the problem with a film like The Odyssey, and I say this with all respect, due respect. When you do a film like The Odyssey, you're not only doing something, you're doing something that is historical or it has of the historical importance. And it's just like with the translation used, it uses Emily Wilson. Emily Wilson is the acceptable translation in universities and such now, right? This is the problem, and this film will go, oh, in maybe 10 years' time, they only know of Nolan's Odyssey, not The Return, not the other film.
Yeah.
It's what people think is cultural relevance. I think it's going to hit probably, I'll estimate about 600.
I think that's a fair number. I think if it
That's a
does
fair.
600, if it does 600, that means they will like made more money than I thought, and I think it also makes sense.
It's 600 makes sense.
Yeah.
It's going to be Superman, but then the question's going to be asked. I ask you this. We're a year out from Superman. Do you think Superman was a big success, or it was a black herring, a black swan kind of?
Man, I feel like I can't
Red hair.
have a factual response because I loved it. I loved it. That's
I told you I
that's,
liked it too.
that's
but
my favorite Superman, and just because of that, I'm tempted to say it was indeed the best. And I feel it was so different from other Superman movies, and I think in many years we may still remember it. It's not the same kind of pioneer that Christopher Reeves was, and I think it will never be replicated. Except
well, it's probably not going to be on the levels of the Donner Superman, right?
yeah.
You have like the Donner, the him,
But
which is
I think there's a lot more chances to remember Gunn's Superman than Man of Steel. Because I'm sorry, but like it wasn't Superman. It
Actually,
was evil
it's
alien
weird.
guy.
The reason I asked this is a year out, people think it says a lot of people said, like I said when I reviewed this with you, I don't hate Superman. I gave Superman like a 6. Like I think he was in the right direction. I think it has a good cast. I think the story is all over the place because he's going to be doing another iconic work, Man of Tomorrow, and I'm dying of cringe on the inside. Man of Tomorrow is largely, if he uses the book, like he was supposed to have used, everyone was excited for James Gunn's version of Superman
All-Star.
because it was an adaptation. Like, do you know the solar monster that they just said, oh, they can kill it? That was the thing that nearly ate the sun in the comic.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, Gunn's like, oh, it's a nothing.
Well, no. I think we talked in length about
Oh, good. It's fine.
about that. So I guess this is the outro. What do you have going on?
Tomorrow,
on the
or I
internet?
should say today at 3 p.m., I have me and Miss Sparkles. I'll do my thing on the Odyssey, and it's going to not be similar to this, but it's going to be more in detail because I find the film, and I think next week I continue the journey through Genshin, and I will have Ramiel Dan is released next week. So
Amazing.
that, and at some point I got to work in an X-Men 97 review, which I have thoughts on the last 2 episodes, but it's kind of turning out. It's still good, but it is a mess a little bit, sir. It's just a bit. So
Interesting. So in my end of the internet, Tuesday I talk about Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse once again because I did review these 2 movies in the past, but I didn't really took a lens after reading the comics. So now I will talk about these 2 movies after reading some Spider-Man comics, and maybe my perspective will slightly change. Outside of that, well, during the week, I may end up doing Resident Evil 0 streams. I'm about to end the game. If I look at one of my reference when I wanted to cheat, there's an hour left of the game, but I'm really slow. So maybe it's like 2 or 3 streams for me of like 2 hours. We will see how it goes.
but I will say this question: what is your take on having the like Welcome Back Frank or the easy to digest for the normie stuff be the main adaptations that they use.
Welcome
Because
Back, Frank was cool.
it's constantly referenced in the
So it's one of my
modern
favorites.
it's a lot of people's favorites, but it's
I think it's like one of my favorite Marvel overall. I will be honest, like I struggle with Marvel a lot. I've read lots of Ghost Recon. I've no Ghost Rider. Sorry, I'm mixing up things. I've read Ghost Rider. I've read Punisher. I've read Fantastic Four. I've read Spider Man in Marvel. What else? I've read Iron Man and Captain America, and I think like there are a lot of good Fantastic Four, but there's also a lot of trash Fantastic Four. Uh, Punisher is like my go-to, I think, when it comes to Marvel, and I also enjoy like Spider-Man a lot, the ones I've read at least. But Ghost Rider, Art Blast, like they were not bad, but like I've read so many comics, and I'm like, it's not as good.
but the reason I ask this is when you're making a film, they're trying to figure out what's a good base story, right?
Welcome Back, Frank.
You're looking at you're either going to go Welcome Back Frank, you're going to go to Maximum Punisher. And this is something you see when they try to adapt, I believe, stuff for the movies, television
There was
shows.
one in the '80s. I can't remember. I enjoyed that
Oh,
one.
the 80s Punisher movie is with Luf.
No, I'm speaking about the comics from the '80s.
It's the 80s Punisher. I'm not
I
as
can't
good
remember.
on.
On top of my head, I can't remember, but I enjoyed that. But yeah, so that's the plan. And next Saturday, if you are still
I'll
available, we
probably
shall
say.
do it earlier, our more normal time next week. And we will react to things. You will pick and choose something, and we shall talk about that.
It's all good. Yeah, but no, that's why I said it. The arch went short. It's that it's not like people think, oh, the chuds are gonna hate it. It's like we're confused. We
Yeah.
are. I'll explain this more in depth tomorrow. Is it? It see, she saw it. She just didn't get it because it's like I leave it as I don't hate it. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
But I'm confused. It's like, and it's not because I don't get the material. I just don't know how he came up with the script and it escaped. Because that's why I bring up it's a messy film. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's late
And
for us.
with that, thank you everyone. Thank you, the dragon, and see you in the next review of movie or the next gaming stream or the next reaction Saturdays or the reaction days. Usually, we will have a change at some point temporarily because Saturday is still the best day for reaction. With that being said, I am multi to Big Talk. I will talk to you later and have a great one, everyone. See you soon.
A bunch of cars.